What's going on, guys? I am Matt Stryker and welcome back to Ree's Retro Toys. On today's episode, I am going to do something that people have been asking for, which is an updated toy room tour. Many of you have been seeing the cases behind me in some of my more recent videos and said, all right, Matt, it's time. We need to see an updated collection tour. So, I had a day off today. This is my regular Friday off. Kids are in school, so I had a little extra time to spin the camera around and show you guys my most recent collection and my updated display. So without further ado, let's get to it. There's a lot to cover. Hope you enjoy. Alright guys, so this is what you see when you first open the door and enter my toy room. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know that I've been picking up these new cabinets with built-in lights. They're called Bravestar cabinets, which I absolutely love because there is no frame on the glass doors, so it's a nice view of all the toys. There's no obstructions. Plus, of course, the built-in lights. So in order to stay focused, I'm just going to be starting left here. Go ahead and shut the door and show you guys around. So there's my Ninja Turtle sleeping bag tacked to the door. And then I've got some carded Hasbros up here. Needle Nose and Killer Bee, of course, from the Ninja Turtles all hung up there. I've got my Fan Club Flyer carded Ninja Turtles there in the back. And then my carded Tombstone Rock Lord, that's the one I had when I was a kid, which is why I decided to go ahead and get him carded. Some more carded Hasbros. They go all the way the length of the wall there against the ceiling. Then I've got some steel monsters that I've been picking up recently. I need the guns for this destroyer truck here. That is the driver for him. And then in this cabinet, I have on the top shelf my Crash dummies. Crash and Bash chair there, and then the Crash car are sealed. And then that is loose complete inside the box, the blue one. This is actually my childhood red Crash car. I played a lot with that. Again, I think you've heard me mention before. Terminator 2, Crash Dummies, and what else? Toxic Crusaders are probably the last toys that I played with when I was a kid. That is also my black motorcycle that I had when I was a kid, and also my Crash and Bash chair. Awesome stuff. Always good to have pieces of your childhood collection your adult collection. And then if you just saw my Toys for the Ages video, you saw that I picked up a complete Diplodocus Dino Riders, as well as a T-Rex, kind of hidden behind here. And I know the glass kind of has a reflection to it. There's my Pterodon, as well as this guy. I can never remember his name, but the Pterodon and this one here are the ones that I had when I was a kid, and I did love those figures. Can't say I'm going to get too much more of the Dino Riders line, and I'm really not joking about that. I just don't have enough room, as great of a toy line as it is. And then down here we have a nice collection of warrior beasts, as well as Lost World of the Warlord. And I have them in the back there on Imperial steeds with saddles. Dragons, Hercules here is on like a rhinoceros. I've got quite a few of the warrior beasts. I don't have the wolf beast or Skullman or the yellow version of Zardos. Deimos back there, he's kind of hard to find. And that's a dragon that will soon be my buddy Ron's. And then down here is Batman. Again, I was 9 years old when Batman came out, and I absolutely was into all of the hype of the Tim Burton Batman film. Loved it. I searched forever to find a Batman figure. Got the Toy Biz Batmobile there, as there's the Kenner Knockout Joker. And then here's the Toy Biz Batcave with figures and everything set up. Nice little mixture. I have a Catwoman there, good measure. Playset I never had as a kid, but I mean, as much as I love Batman, I had to pick one up. Then over here is basically the closet of the room. I took the doors off of the closet and added shelving, some track shelving in here to display mostly Ninja Turtle stuff. Down here, all of it. This is my childhood pillow person. I think Sleeposaurus or something like that is what he was called. So that is my childhood one. And here are all the wrestling buddies. I've had these wrestling buddies since I was probably 13 or 14 when I first started getting into collecting. I started collecting all the wrestling stuff that I could find. Hasbro's, LJNs, Galoobs. So I have some of the WCW ones too. They're kind of harder to find. Lex Luger and Ric Flair. And then I have a complete My Pet Monster with cuffs. And he's in pretty good shape. Got a California Raisin. Pillow type plush. There's Laser Force. I had that car when I was a kid. It's by Gay Toys in the early 80s. Montgomery Moose from the Get Along Gang, as well as an Alf plush. And then of course, I wanted to focus here too and show you guys this is a Toys R Us basket that I found at a yard sale for a whopping $2. And there is Big Rex. But this is all of, well, I wouldn't say all, but a good chunk of my Ninja Turtle stuff. I mean, I've got so much of the random merch. Pez dispensers, keychains, watches, bath buddies, towel and washcloth, stocking. It's crazy. I mean, I've been collecting Ninja Turtle stuff for probably 14 years. I mean, I had some of it when I was a kid, but obviously not this much. We've got the Giants here, the Sewer Sport Balls. I have the regular Giants. I have the Movie Star Giants, the 2003 Giants, for all 4 turtles. There's the Sewer playset box back there, original. Turtle Blimp 2 is back there. I just don't have room to display it hanging from the ceiling, and its box is back there as well. I have a boxed original Donatello back there that my wife got me years ago now. Donatello is my favorite turtle. We've got Mutant Module. Around the corner here too, I wanted to show you this. Some other random things. The party puzzles. Buckman. You guys remember how hard he was to find back in the day? And the 2012 series of Ninja Turtles. Then I have cards. I think that's pretty neat, having the soundtrack cassette on card for Turtles 3, as much as I don't like that movie. Hey, if you love that movie, that's great. I think it's pretty awful. And I love Ninja Turtles. I'm just my opinion. Mutant Module, Toon Cycle. There's the Giant Mutations Donatello. This is my childhood foot cruiser. This was the only vehicle I had from the Ninja Turtle line when I was a kid. It's this exact foot cruiser. I'm so glad I still have it. You can see how beat up it is. Chrome all worn off. But so glad I still have it. Because I have a mint boxed one back there. There's Farmer Don. I don't have his tractor, but I do have Farmer Mike. His tractor. Mutations, Michelangelo. Toothbrush back there. Here's the Mutabus that I love, with all 4 of the Rocker Turtles on there, performing a sweet kick-butt concert for everybody. Coming out of the shells. Oh yes. There's a boxed pizza thrower. Loose with box. Mutations Leo. Turtle tank back there in the box. And then all of the Cave Turtles. April, Bebop, Leo, Mike, Dawn, and Raph. Nice set there. There is a talking gumball bank for Ninja Turtles. That is a Mexican knockoff blow mold Ninja Turtle that I got from my buddy Pete at one of the Toys for the Ages. There's a complete sewer sub, Turtlemobile, and of course you gotta have the party wagon. This is one of the Auto Mutations figures that Splinter transformed into the party bus, or the party van. There are the Ninja Turtle mirrors. I don't have Raphael. I might be trying to find that eventually. Giant Bebop, Giant Krang. There's Mike and his, what is it called? Cowabunga Cruiser or something like that. I forget what it's called. One of the motorcycles. Gotta have the Technodrome. And the Technodrome Scout. Giant Rocksteady. I don't have their guns, but nonetheless, still awesome figures. And then of course the sewer play set. All sorts of random figures around. And then there's a Christmas ball ornament, a couple cookie containers, and a painter's cap. Down here we have the sewer sports football, Pogocopter. There's an inflatable turtle, as well as the baseball mitt. Here are a couple other carded 10-backs here. These are not the fan club versions. And then all sorts of smaller vehicles are down here. Some I have with the box. Knucklehead. I'm trying to find the box for the Knucklehead eventually. Shredder-mobile's back there. There's the tubes. Party and the Army tubes. Sewer Dragster. There's the Turtle Cycle. Both Cheapskates 1 and 2. There's the Flush-O-Matic. You've heard me say before, I absolutely love the early style artwork that was on all of the 88, 89 packaging. They look a lot more like the comic books, less cartoony. You can see there, I mean the Cheapskate, Turtle Cycle, Flush-O-Matic, they all have that similar art style, comic book style to them. There's the Tub Boat, News Cycle. even the toilet taxi has that type of artwork. The retro catapult, sewer seltzer cannon. Down here, we have some Megaforce on the bottom shelf, as well as some boxed mutations. There's a Nosy Bear I got from my buddy Rick over at Monsters in the Toy Box. Some Visionaries vehicles. I just picked that up not too long ago. No, I got it at Toys for the Ages. Lancer Cycle with Ektar complete. These are pretty cool too. The Eraser bouncing Bad Balls. Some knockoff Mad Ball type item. There is Mortrid from Visionaries. There is the Capture Chariot from Visionaries. There is the Alien Constructs set that I had when I was a kid. And then some of those recently released 40th anniversary Turtles. I got the TV trays there, kind of wedged in the corner, as well as another sleeping bag. Down here are a bunch of my VHS. I'm hoping to finish the basement and be able to display my movies in VHS a little bit better. But I just kind of had to have them somewhere at this point. And then we are on to the first Brotar cabinet. I'll show you up here too. There's carded Ninja Turtles that go all the way basically to the end of this wall. And they're all in Min on Card Masters cases. We have a complete Fortress of Fangs from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Great line, great play set. That was a 2-for-1 special. My buddy Chad needed the box and I needed the play set, so we figured out a deal and we both got what we needed. Here is the Ghost Finder vehicle from Supernaturals. One of those animal vehicles. And then here are the Inhumanoids, one of my favorite toy lines. Loved these when they were out as a kid. Unfortunately, the only one I had was Granok there, and that is my childhood one that I had. He was just one of the random Inhumanoids I found at a yard sale, I think. But, I mean, Metlar, Tendril, and Decompose, come on. I mean, this is just stellar toy line. And this is the entire line here. All 4 humans, all the monsters, all the tree men. Other than the vehicles. I do not own the vehicles, nor do I care to own the vehicles. But to set up these Brotar cabinets, I wanted to pick lines that could basically fit on one shelf. I think it looks really good. I think it turned out really well. This is, of course, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons by LJN Toys. I'm close to complete on this. I don't have the Battlematic Orange Ogre King, and then I'm missing some accessories as well to complete some of these figures. But, oh, such a great line. I have to thank a couple of my buddies, Chad and Ron, over at Century TMC for really getting me into this line. And then that top row there, those are the NECA Lost Wave figures. If you're a D&D fan and you don't have the Lost Wave, I plead to you to go ahead and get those. They fit in really well. They fit in perfectly, in my opinion. I mean, just zoom out here. They look like they belong right there. And that is how you're supposed to do retro toys. You're supposed to make them look to scale like the vintage line, like you could just plop them into place and no one would even know the difference. Make those prototypes that were never released on similar card backs in the same style, and us collectors will likely buy them. And then down here is the set of Supernaturals by Tonka, another one of the great hologram lines along with Visionaries. There's Lion Wings. Speaking of the 2-for-1 special, Chad needed the box for that Lion Wings. I needed the figure, so we figured out a deal. And this is pretty much the entire line here. We've got the Tomb of Doom playset. My buddy Ian actually gifted me the dragon, so I'm looking for pieces for him to complete him eventually. Of course, that's high hopes, well wishes there. It's hard to find. And then down here are my Sectars, another great line, Coleco. And I pretty much have this entire line now. General Spydrax, Spider Flyer. I am looking for one with complete wings there. I think Parafly is his name. Such a cool line. There's Dargon. Heroic Dargon. And I think the Nacelle company did a pretty good job here with Stellara. She's not vintage, but she was a part of the cartoon. And they released her, I think, this past year. I think she fits in well. Of course, she's a little brighter than her vintage counterparts, but she still looks good. Sectars. Guess I'll scoot over here and then go to the top. This next cabinet houses my Starriors collection, a line that I randomly got into when I picked up the Starriors playset here on the right at Time Traveler Toys in Winchester, Virginia. That's when I lived down in the DC area. Very cool line. Not a lot of people go after this line. Doesn't seem like that anyway. There's Bowler. He was my last one I needed to find in the Starriors collection. It took me a while to find him. He's actually stapled to the card. He's not mint on card. And those guys are kind of hard to find, those little ones. Same with the rings. You don't see the rings very often. There's the entire run. We had 12 figures altogether. And then 2 rings, 4 of the mini guys, and then 4 of the mini ones. I need to find 2 more of those. Complete it. And then up here we venture into some knockoff Transformers as well as some GoBots. It's not as well laid out because I just have so many of them, so it's a little crowded. But awesome stuff nonetheless. Some Rock Lords I put in here, like the Gnarlies and the Rockosaurs. There's a Monstrous, one of the Combiner GoBots. Of course, the giant gun and the little water pistols, cap guns. There's the Power Suit Combiners back there. Puzzler is another one of the Combiners. I think he was the first Combiner for the GoBots. These I picked up recently. The Game Bots. I think they're awesome. As well as the Padlock. And even more GoBots here on the shelf right above with the Command Center and more Super GoBots. Leader 1, Psykill, Space C, Turbo. Guys, I loved the GoBots when I was a kid. I watched it all the time. I mean, I watched Transformers too, but I loved Go. And that's the one I had when I was a kid, Bug Bite. So he was the first one I actually got in the package. I don't have a lot in the package, but... And there's a knockoff quartz watch Transformer GoBot. Still in the box. It's pretty neat. And then up here are my Transformers G1. I have the Dinobots. We have Devastator back there. Blaster. I just recently picked up that Perceptor figure from D&E. Of course, you gotta have Optimus Prime. Soundwave back there. That is actually a Godaiken figure. Probably might be selling that one. And a couple of the Pretenders are in here as well. Great line, you know, I loved them as a kid. I just, you know, this isn't a line that I'm gonna go after all of them. A lot of these are actually just random ones that I found at yard sales, flea markets. But loved the Dinobots. I had Grimlock, of course, probably like many of you who are watching this. I had Grimlock when I was a kid. And then up on this shelf are a batch of Powertrons. Fun little knockoff line. And some of the GoBots vehicles up here, as well as Snarly Gnarly, one of the rarest Gnarlies in the Rock Lords line. There's Zod in the box, Throttle, Super GoBot, as well as Thruster in the box. And I have my flying Turtle Copter, as well as my original vintage blimp. We got Mikey hanging out here, Donatello in the driver's seat. Down here, just a vintage ROTJ trash can. We have probably an 80s style, probably 80s gumball machine. Here is my vintage Tyrannosaurus Rex bag that I had probably since I was 7. Something like that. This is my original one. I think I maybe got it at a Scholastic book fair or something like that at school. And here, of course, we have the MOTU section. Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain. We do have a monster box here that I recently picked up at the Butler Toy Show. Over here are the carded Universal Monster Turtles. The whole set of Series 1, as well as Invisible Man Mikey up there. And here's MOTU. I've got 2 shelves of Masters of the Universe. Such an extensive line. There's Dragon Blaster, great figure. The Roton, my third Beast Man in there. Modulok back there. Of course, I have He-Man and Skeletor on their tigers. Well, Tiger and Panther. Flying Fists. Good stuff. And then here is the second shelf. You have some of the movie MOTU. Wildor, I think his name is. Sorod and Blade. Some Horde figures. Hurricane Hordak. That's a great figure. Now I have some random Galoob Golden Girl figures back there. And down here, the last 2 shelves are my M.A.S.K. collection. I mean, over here I do have some as well. Raven box, Gator box. I've got my Urkel doll down here sealed. M.A.S.K, again, awesome line. I did not have any of this when I was a kid. But incredible line by the fine folks at Kenner. I know this is one of my buddy Chad's. One of his favorite lines is M.A.S.K. And I set them up as nicely as I could, because, you know, the vehicles, they take up a little bit more space than the figures do. I put the switchblade on the stand there. Looks pretty good. And then we're going to start this wall over here. We're already 30 minutes in, guys. I did not realize it was going to take this long to show you everything. Wow. We've got Ghostbusters. One of my favorite lines as a child. I was just talking to my buddy Ron about the real Ghostbusters versus the Filmation Ghostbusters, and how I don't quite understand how many people go after the Filmation Ghostbusters line, other than the fact that it's kind of rare, and I don't know how many of us actually have emotional connectivity to the line. I was a real and if you do, that's great. You know, I'm not judging, but I think a lot of us were mainly real Ghostbusters kids. Here's my setup here. Some of the vehicles on stands. Of course, the original 4 with their ghosts. Some vehicles. Some of the monsters back there. X-Cop. I had him when I was a kid, as well as Granny Gross. I had Stay Puffed. The ones I played with a lot, though, were actually the Fright feature ones. I had all of the Fright features. And then we go down to Mad Balls. This line really got hyped up over the last year or two due to social media. I've always liked the line. Can't say I had a lot of them, so I've taken the opportunity to pick some more up lately. Of course, nice combination of the head poppers as well as the regular Mad Balls and the the Super Sports Mad Balls. You have Ghoul Eater, Touchdown Terror, and Foul Shot. Got the set of 4 wind-ups back there on the card. Picked those up at RetroCon, I believe. My buddy Ron has the body for that Slobulus head, so hopefully I'll be getting that at Toy Palooza coming up. And some knockoff ones too that came out of like 25-cent machines. Always fun. Down here's one of my favorite shelves. This is my TV shelf, all right? The 80s wouldn't have been the 80s without these TV shows, let me tell you. I loved the A-Team. I loved Dukes, Magnum, Knight Rider, Fall Guy, MacGyver. They didn't really make a lot of toys, or if any toys for MacGyver. But I wanted an ode to the decade that gave us hour-long action-adventure movies every week when we were kids. And here are the Dukes of Hazzard by Mego. There's the Knight Rider and Michael Knight from Kenner. My Grail piece. Yes, when I say Grail, this is an actual Grail for me. The Magnum PI car with the Tom Selleck Magnum figure in there. That was done by LJN Toys. So happy to add that to the collection. There's Face and his Corvette from the A-Team. They're the bad guys from the A-Team. Of course, this is from Galoob. And then the A-Team are actually inside the van there. And then you have Colt and his truck from the Fall Guy. And that is from Herbal back in the day. I just picked that up at Toys for the Ages. So again, one of my favorite shelves there. I don't see a lot of people collecting the TV show stuff. Not sure why, unless you just didn't watch them. I'm not sure, but I think TV shows are very much part of the fabric of the 80s, as well as all of the cartoons we watched when we were kids. And Starcom! The magnets. Always with the magnets. Of course, Coleco did Starcom, and they used magnets and gears to make the actions work. Very, very impressive engineering feat. I know I have a buddy, Matt, who loves this line and goes to extreme lengths to restore them and get them working again. He de-yellows them, tears them apart, replaces gears, all sorts of stuff. I'm very impressed with what he can do with his knowledge of Starcom. And then over here, we'll go around the top here a little bit. Those are the two Rock Lords vehicles. There's the LJN Sling 'em Fling 'em Wrestling Ring, Jack's microphone, the Jack Survivor Series pack. Again, this is stuff that I bought off the shelf when I was a teenager back in the day, the Jack stuff. And the Jack's Monster Ring behind my giant LJN Hogan. There's the WrestleMania 7 postcard. The Cobra Adder vehicle from G.I. Joe with Crystal Ball. There's the Epcot Center Cup from, I think, 82. I thought that was awesome, because my family and I are a Disney family. We love to go to Disney World. There's the Hulkster Convoy from NASCAR. Rest in peace, Hulkster. I don't care what anybody says about you. You made wrestling what it was. WrestleMania 4 VHS. Hogan made wrestling, guys. So go ahead and badmouth him if you wish, but you're not going to get that from me. And then we go into the Hasbro collection. That again, I have been collecting since I was about 13. And this is pretty much the entire run. I recently picked up Demolition with the masks, so I was happy about that. And then I've got my green cards right here in the front. The whole set there, even 1, 2, 3 Kid. Andre, Dusty. And then this is the last prototype I have in my collection, the Repo Man. He's the prototype right out of the Hasbro factory back in the day. And then some of the more common ones back here. One of my absolute favorite lines, probably top 3 favorite lines, because I was a wrestling kid. My dad took me to go see wrestling in January of '91 at the Beagley Center in Youngstown, Ohio. And that's where we saw The Undertaker. And he had just premiered at Survivor Series the year prior, in November of '90. He was still with Brother Love at the time. And then here's my little display of Ultimate Warrior and Hogan. We've got the talking Hasbros here on either side. Bubble Bath, Knockoffs, Thunder Lips. Here's the Hasbros. There's a WrestleMania 7 pin back from video stores. And there's also the No Holds Barred pin back from when that movie came out. There is the elusive mail-away Hogan that is authentic. Stoked to have that in my collection. I'm glad I bought it when I did. I think I paid $100 for him from the guys at D&E years ago. Years ago now. I think he's like $1,000 figure now. And Ultimate Warrior, of course, who attempted to replace Hogan, but it didn't go as planned. However, many of us still loved his character. Was he the greatest wrestler? No, but neither was Hogan. It was the character, it was the attitude, it was the myth. That's what we were drawn to. Not how many backflips they could do in the ring, but how their persona came off and impacted us as children. Big difference these days. And here are more of my Hasbros. I just love this line. It pops. They're small enough that you can really get a nice collection going. And a lot of the ones, you can still collect these at a reasonable price. I mean, yeah, when you get into the red cards and green cards, maybe looking at some pricey ones, but for the most part, you can get a nice collection of Hasbros for like 10 to 20 bucks a piece, roughly. Mr. Perfect, he is one of my absolute favorite wrestlers. I loved Kurt Hennig. Incredible in the ring. Go watch some Mr. Perfect matches and you'll see what I mean. I am looking for an upgraded IRS because I want to get rid of that yellowing. I don't have the Royal Rumble ring, which goes to these minifigures, nor do I have the minifigures that go with the Royal Rumble ring. So, who knows, maybe I'll find that eventually. Down here, WCW. And so these are the San Francisco toy makers that came out in, I think, '94. All of Series 1 there. And there is the wrestling ring in the box. It has been opened, because I think I displayed it with figures in the ring when I was younger. And then these are the Galoobs that came out in, I think, 90, 91. The front row there, those are the European exclusives. El Gigante, Lex Luger in his robe, Fabulous Freebirds, Orange Tights Sting, and some of the regular ones back there. And then I have a giant Ric Flair and Sid Vicious. So go over here. I've got a Detolf here in the middle, or Detolf, however you want to pronounce it. And this is my section of AWA figures by Remco, I believe. A lot of the WCW, NWA guys got their start there, and even some WWF guys. And there is the ring there. I just have the posts out so it just kind of displays in the background behind the set of figures. Road Warriors are a highlight there, as well as Ric Flair and his robe. Fabulous Freebirds. And then here are the Silver Hawks. Another excellent line. And very hard to find in good condition. Anybody that collects these knows how hard it is to find these in good condition because of the metallic chrome-like application over the plastic. I am looking for some of the rarer ones. I picked up Molecular there from my buddy John recently. And I just got Shredder there for Buzzsaw, his bird. And then in the back there I have a couple Tiger Sharks. So this was the follow-up. We had Thundercats, Silver Hawks, and then Tiger Sharks. That's Mako there. I do not have his accessory. And then T-Ray, which was basically the main bad guy in the show. And we have Kenner RoboCop, one of my favorite movies of all time is RoboCop. Didn't really watch the cartoon, but because I love the movie so much, I did go ahead and pick up a few items from the line. And again, it's not super expensive to get into this line. And I got a Skull Hog there. And a Robo 1 police car, great vehicle. I recently opened up that carded RoboCop, so he is mint as mint can be, because the card was really beat up. Some of the bad guys. Knockoff RoboCop back there. I'd like to get Ed 260 and Ann Lewis to complete this collection. That's not all the figures, but that's really all I want from this line. And the top shelf are the Power Lords. Crazy, crazy line of action figures, vehicles, and one playset by Revell. My buddy Andy Cook is likely responsible for getting me into this line. I didn't really know much about it until I filmed his collection several years ago now, and I said, wow, I really like these. so, I mean, look at Psyduck back there. He's got that grin on his face. It's crazy. Such a cool line. Very, very artistic. Bizarre. Love it. And then above them here is the Vulcan Rock playset. Very rare, very fragile, hard to find. Just display it as well as I can. And then I have a couple of the vehicles in there. It does have the elevator and it does work, so that's pretty cool. Missing a few pieces, some of the weapons, but the fact that I have one is, you know, you just don't see them. I don't know if I've ever even seen a Vulcan Rock at a toy show. So, if you want one of these suckers and see it, you better buy it. But you're probably gonna have to pay up. Moving on is my favorite playset of all time. This is Fort Kirium by Bravestar. The one playset I had when I was a kid. Played with it all the time. But I've never had Bravestar figures. I played Ninja Turtles and Dick Tracy and all sorts of other lines within the world of Fort Kirium. And I loved it so much. Just such a great playset. I love the fact that they have the drop-down flooring and it can fold up into basically a carry mode. And then it has the explosive device to like break you out of the jail cell, blow up the bank, well, the safe in the bank, rather. They really did a good job with it. Love it. Love it. I do have the box back there. The tower. The only one I need from this line is Tex Hex's him right here. What's his name? The metal robot. Oh, it might just escapes me right now. I'll fill it in later. Here is my G.I. Joe collection that I picked up here recently. Not going after all the vehicles. I wanted a nice representation of the Cobra vehicles, so I've got the Hiss tank and the chopper there. I do have quite a few of the core characters, which is mainly what I was going after anyway. Scarlet was one I picked up recently. I think I got her at Toy-Hio. Shipwreck I had when I was a kid. Love that figure. Of course, you gotta have Snake Eyes. Roadblock, Lady J. And I got the Vamp, there, as well as the Silver Mirage motorcycle, again, which I had when I was a kid. And you can see there how beat up those figures are. Well, those are my original childhood G.I. Joes. I have my childhood Silver Mirage in a bag, but it's completely destroyed. I mean, it's in pieces. It just broke apart. Figures on top of the box there. This is a line I've been dabbling in within the last year or two. And they're not too expensive to pick up either, some of them. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know how much I love the California Raisins. Honestly, this is one of the lines that got me back into collecting when I was, I don't know, 14, 15 years ago at this point. So I was maybe 31-ish when I started collecting again as an adult. Just so many fond memories of the California Raisins commercials, cartoon. They were everywhere. I mean, they merchandised everything back in the day. Their claymation specials. The claymation Christmas celebration is one of my all-time favorite Christmas specials. We watch it several times a year. I got some rare ones here in the front. That's Red with his piano and AC. Rudy Rutabaga, which was their manager. There's Cecil Carrot, one of the documentary guys, news guys in the claymation specials. Lick Broccoli, their arch nemesis. Banana White, and then Mama Raisin. Got Jimi Hendrix Raisin back there. Like I said, guys, I mean, they merchandised everything that they could. I love the Michael Jackson Raisin too. I mean, how cool is that? They did have a Michael Jackson commercial. Go ahead and look that up on YouTube if you haven't seen it yet. And then Thundercats, a core line for many of us collectors. My buddy Andy, this is his favorite line of all time, loves the Thundercats. He's always looking for rare items, merchandising and things like that to add to his collection. And it's great. I mean, they did a wonderful job with this, LJN Toys. They all have the battle feature. They have like the button in the back that moves their arms. I mean, I'll probably pick up a couple more of these, but you know, I'm happy with what I have at this point, to be completely honest. Because the ones that I don't have are pretty pricey. And then we go into the bottom shelf, which is the Kenner Superpowers line. Again, a line that I didn't think I'd ever get into. But all it took was John, my buddy John over at Giant Man Comics in Newcastle, to sell me that Batman. And then I was like, uh-oh, these are pretty cool. And I had a good friend, Casey, well, he's still my friend, that he had the Batmobile, Hall of Justice, and I always thought that was pretty cool too. So I had friends that had superpowers. It's just that the only superpower I ever had was the Joker. That one right there. It's the only one I ever had. And then I had Toy Biz ones. So from when they re-released them, when the '89 movie came out, all those Toy Biz, which were modeled basically directly after the Kenner line. Such a vivid, colorful line. Superpowers. So I'll scoot over here. Oh, over here we have my giant store display California Raisin that my buddy Sean found for me. Actually sent me a message when he found this at a flea market and said, "You interested?" And I said, "I absolutely am." He's awesome. I imagine he was on top of like a bowl or something, and then because he has like the pegs in his feet, there's probably a bowl right there, and that had the PVC California Raisins in it. All right. Bottom shelf here we have Blackstar. Fun fantasy line. Of course, it got really overshadowed by Masters of the Universe. But still an incredible line. Again, talk about colorful lines. Blackstar is really, really vibrant. Great characters. I'm still looking for different pieces for this line. I need Mara, which is the female action figure, female character in the show. But she's pretty pricey. She goes for like, I don't know, like $300 or $400 if you can find her complete. And this is a shelf I've recently put together. You guys know that I love horror films, and I've loved them since I was a kid. And now I know I basically go after vintage stuff, but you gotta hand it to NECA for knocking it out of the park with some of these figures. And it's not like they made a lot of vintage horror stuff back when these characters were out in movies, you know, on the big screen. So I have been collecting NECA horror figures for several years now, and I've always wanted to just take them out of the box and display them and pay tribute to some of my all-time favorite movies and characters. Of course, we have Leatherface, the new Return of the Living Dead set. That is a vintage Crypt Keeper figure back there. Pumpkinhead is actually from the McFarlane movie Maniacs that I've had since I was a teenager. This set is incredible from Dawn of the Dead. I mean, just look how movie accurate those figures are. Just amazing. And then the most of the rest here are NECA figures. Of course, you got Pamela Voorhees, Jason from Friday 2, and then Jason from Friday 3 back there. You got the Halloween 6 Michael Myers, Halloween 2 Michael Myers, Freddy, Chucky. A couple of the Puppet Master figures that I always loved, that I love that series. We have the Creeper here, the Creep Show. That is a vintage Freddy there, from I think 86. And then that is the Max Effects Freddy figure. And that is a late 90s version of Blade that you used to buy at like Suncoast Video and Spencer's Gifts back in the day. That's the bloody variant. I've had him, I bought him off the shelf back in the day at the mall. And speaking of horror, this is more of the vintage horror stuff that I have. Couple Boglins, Halloween Bendies, the Remco monsters, Tales from the Crypt Keeper figures, mini Boglins. This is again one of my favorite shelves. Horror is a big part of my life. I will be completely honest. I've loved horror movies for a long time. There's the Pocket Power Glow Bones. There is, I think, Crossbones, maybe, from Pirates of the Galaxies. There are a couple of the monster set from Sun Gold, the Vampire and Frankenstein. There's a boxed drool with the tag, Boglins. There's the Creepy Kids that I've been seeing pop up on Instagram all of a sudden. I'm looking for the werewolf one because they only made 4. There's a pack of Devil Eyes, as well as mini Boglins, and then the Imperial monsters as well, all 4. So, love that display there. And then up here, we have Rambo and the Force of Freedom. There's John Rambo there in the Defender vehicle, 6x6. Chief. Got the White Dragon, Black Dragon. There is a Joxa knockoff Rambo figure back there. He's kind of like T.D. Jackson, but has gray hair. I don't know what they were doing over there. A couple of boxed mini accessories. And there's the machine gun in the box. There's some Series 2 figures back there. There's T.D. Jackson, Snakebite, Cat, Troutman, Nomad. Great line by Coleco. Again, they had that cartoon series based off R-rated movies, but we were okay with that back then. Up here is my wisecracking Alf in the box. Again, from Coleco. I have the Savage Strike headquarters in the box back there. My little mini space Lego set I picked up recently, as well as the Forbidden Island set. This was my one bigger set I had as a child. So I had to get that when D&E put that out. I think at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of 2025, they got a big Lego collection in, and I ran down and grabbed that. And then we have the Haunted House monster in my pocket. We have 3 carded socket popper sets, one of my favorite lines from back in the day, 91 Ertl. Some more carded turtles, bad guys. And then a knockoff skeleton fighter. Got that off my buddy Chris, VHS Crypt. Got that Rambo, is it Airwolf? Maybe it's Airwolf. Speaking of Chris, this is who I got my Hive off of. Of course, this is the Sectaurs playset. It's massive. It has more pieces to it, but I just didn't want to risk breaking anything. And honestly, my time is very limited as an adult. Being a parent and have a full-time job, which I commute to every day in Pittsburgh. Yeah, so my spare time is fleeting. I'm doing this on my day off. We'll run across the top here. There is the box for the Tomb of Doom Supernaturals. My boxed getaway car from Dick Tracy. Box from my Batmobile. There's the Starriors playset, Armored Battle Station box. Not the greatest shape, but glad to have it. Toy Biz Batman box. For the Bat Cave. There is the boxed Batwing. Again, I told you guys I love 89 Batman. One of the Rambo planes. I got this off my boys at D&E Technodrome box with the protective case. Such a great box. I know they just re-released this on Amazon. I know some people weren't happy with it, some people were. I don't know. Nothing beats the vintage. And here are some knockoff space vehicles that I love to collect. I've got a buddy out east who's always looking for these for me, so thank you, man, I appreciate it. And then this is actually one in the box. Emergency Squad 6-wheel drive friction powered vehicle. And this is the one I had when I was a kid. I have a picture of this underneath the coffee table from back in, like, I don't know, 85, 86, something like that. There's the back of the box there. It's these little oddball things that you remember from childhood that you eventually start collecting. you know, this means a lot more to me than a line that I never played with as a kid. So, you know, just keep that in mind when you're collecting. Just because other people are collecting, doesn't mean that you have to. You know, kind of stick with things that you love. There's nothing wrong with that. Even if they are cheap. You know what I mean? Who cares? And then here are my Detolfs, my Kia. Unfortunately, there are no lights in these at this time. I'm gonna skim over my turtles because I think I've showcased my turtles before in other collection videos. But obviously, it's a core line for me. One of my favorite franchises. I was that core audience. I was that core age. 8 years old. Well, I guess the first cartoon came out in December of '87. So I was 7 years old when season 1 premiered in December of '87. And I've been a fan ever since. I've always had a soft spot for the first 2 movies. And I always will. Those 2 live action ones are integrated into my childhood. Excuse me. I do have some rarer ones. Can't say I'm going to keep all of these. You know, I might be purging some of my collection here shortly. I'm setting up at Toy Palooza here in a couple weeks in Monroeville. So come out and see me. Buy some stuff if you feel so inclined. There's the Warrior Wing Donatello. And I also have a Hot Spot. And then Warrior Winged Leonardo. Awesome figures. Now, those are later in the line. I don't really have nostalgic attachment to them at all, but they are just so awesome. I don't have their accessories, so I'd be hard pressed to sell them. My buddy Christian just gifted me that Wacky Action Shredder. So thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. And then even turtles down here. Movie turtles. There's the Metal Mutants set. Sorry for the glare too. I didn't take the time to open up the doors. Here's some Toon Turtles. Down here are some of my favorite Elite figures from some of the older wrestlers that I've always liked. Some that I always wish that we had figures of, like Zeus. I mean, I was, I think 9 when No Holds Barred came out and they did that steel cage match. What was it? Brutus Beefcake and Hogan versus Zeus and Macho Man. And then of course Zeus was a bad guy in No Holds Barred. They did that whole promotional tie-in. And I was like, man, that's awesome. There's a Zeus figure. So I had to get it. Brother Love. Of course, the alliance of the Mega Powers, Macho Man and Hogan. And then I even have some of the newer guys that I like back there. Logan Paul, Cody, Randy Orton, Gunther. Yeah, I don't have a lot, but some core ones. And I have to show off this shelf here, which is my Dragon Riders of the Styx. Sorry it's not lit very well, but this is pretty much the entire run. I don't have the black version of the Wizard. That Wizard back, the Wizard back there came in like a silver and black costume rather than purple and red. Great knockoff type fantasy line. There's the Demon Flyer. I got that off of my good friend Ron, Century TMC. He actually had a spare, so I bought that. I have the box for that too. Those I just got off my buddy Clifton from Happy Pappies. Fantar and Ruzan, demon steeds. Crazy figures. I also got that off of Clifton. Skull Sled. And then you have the Serpent Rider here. Very, very awesome line of fantasy figures. Here we have Clash of the Titans, a couple of Killer Tomatoes, some wind-up Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, Food Fighters. Even have a couple of the variants, Major Munch there, as well as, what's his name? Cone? Scoops, Sergeant Scoops. There is my collection of Visionaries. As well as Staroid Raiders, kind of knockoff Star Wars figures, and Army Ants. Fun little line I remember, vividly remember that commercial because they used the Army theme song for that. Down here is a random shelf. You have like the Photon figures there that you don't see too often. Bendy Stripe, Gremlin, Commando, Arnold figure. Some Sky Commanders, Cops and Crooks. Jason Wheeled Warriors, Shadow Strikers, Battle Beasts. Again, random shelf. And then here are my Chuck Norris Karate Commandos and Karate Kid figures. Remco, that's right, Remco did Karate Kid. And then Willow. They did not make a whole lot of cool toys for Willow. No regular action figures. They did make the Eversisk. But as far as figures, they made these metal type figures with the stands. Over here, we're venturing into the early 90s with the Toxic Crusaders. One of everyone's favorite toy lines. Playmates, they know how to make a figure. They know how to make colorful action figures, catch your eye. Card art is great on these as well. And then Kenner, Swamp Thing. Pretty much the whole set back there. Of the mutant Bugmen. Is that what it is? Bugmen? I can't remember. And then all sorts of versions of Swamp Thing. We have Barnyard Commandos. Again, from Playmates. 1989 to 90. And Computer Warriors. I always said you can't get much more 80s than the transforming Pepsi can from Computer Warriors. There's just something about that. Some more sets there. And then here is my collection of Rock Lords, which I love. I will not be selling my Rock Lord collection anytime soon, that is for sure. I just love this line so much. Again, I had Tombstone back there, the green one with the yellow eye. And some of these are pretty pricey these days. I know the Jewel Lords are hard to find. Solitaire there. I'm missing some accessories, but hey, it is what it is. Shock Rocks you don't see too often as well on either side here. And then my buddy Sasho just found one of those at Toy Hio recently, so he was happy about that. Be sure to check out Sasho's collection on my channel if you haven't. But it's pretty much outdated already. He just keeps acquiring more and more. And then we have more Playmates up here with the Dick Tracy line. Of course, I'm missing the blank. Will I find her? Maybe. Hopefully someday. I also want to get Dick Tracy's police car, because I have Big Boy's getaway car. And then we have the Ertl Socket Poppers line. all 16 of them. So this is the entire run of socket poppers. A very underappreciated line. Didn't last too long on store shelves. You can take their heads, legs, and arms off and make all sorts of combinations. I had, actually these are my childhood Swamp Monster and Vampire figures. And then I eventually was able to find the other 14 figures. It was harder than I thought it would be. The mummy there was the elusive one. I could not find him for quite a while. And then he popped up on eBay and I snagged him real fast. In the corner over here, I have some carded T2 figures. And San Francisco Toy Makers WCW figures. Again, these are from like 94, 95. And I've had them since I was 14 years old when I was collecting wrestling stuff. Let me tell you, I was pretty hip and popular back in the day collecting wrestling figures in middle and high school. There's a vintage Hogan watch. Blue Bloods, they're an exclusive tag team set. Lord Steven Regal, who was still very active behind the scenes in WWE. Harlem Heat, to me, one of the greatest tag teams. Booker T and Stevie Ray. Nasty Boys. There's a Warrior sliding puzzle. A couple carded Galoobs. Rick Steiner and Flying Brian there. There's kind of a rare 2-pack of Hogan and Sting together. There's a carded pack of those Royal Rumble figures and a couple of the Bendhams from 1990, Sid and Barry Windham. So that's the main room. Just kind of pan around again real quick. And then I will show you this setup here. Guys that watch my channel, guys and gals, you saw me pick these up at Toys for the Ages this year. The full box of candy containers, as well as this set of candy. Well, that's actually bubble gum, correct myself. And this is candy that came out right around when the movie came out, using that artwork. Down here are some random figures, knockoffs, rocket rollers, stuff like that. Noid, knockoff Rambo. I got some Arco Otherworld figures in here. More knockoffs here, skeleton fighters. There's those dual-faced monster figures. Smurfs. E.T. back there, and Faceable. Yeah, just kind of a random hodgepodge of stuff. And then down here are my Centurions. Another great Kenner line. Great cartoon. I didn't watch a lot of it when I was young, but I have rewatched the series as an adult and really enjoy the cartoon. It was really well made. 80s, right? Reagan Bush, 84. It's classic. I have quite a few Centurions back there. And then the bottom shelf here is my hodgepodge of random Ninja Turtle merchandise. Toothbrushes, party hats, cards, cookies, juice boxes, video handheld games, communicator. There is the complete fan club kit that you mailed away for back in the day. Yo-yo, there is a open ooze canister, night lights, more cookies, turtle egg candy. There's a fishing kit back there. soap, tissues, Pez, bath kits. So yeah, all sorts of random turtle goodness back there that I've been collecting for several years now. And then I guess I'll show you this last case that's on the other side. And it's not really well done, but I just didn't know where else to put them. As you can see, I'm kind of out of space in my room. I have my LJNs in here, as well as the Bendums that go along with them. I'll be honest, like, I like the LJNs. And I had friends who had them. But I didn't have any LJNs. I had Hasbros. Hasbros are what I played with. I was watching wrestling back in the late 80s, but I did not have any of the figures. So I just kind of crammed them in here. Again, I know it's not the best display, but honestly, LJNs are kind of hard to display anyway because they take up so much space. Kind of an awkward size. Got my thumb wrestlers down there. And some more modern figures. Like I got some Wyatt family back there. And the headbangers from the Jack series, stuff like that. So that's my room, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's my little slice of nostalgic heaven. So that's it, guys. That is my toy collection tour as of September 2025. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. And let me know what you enjoyed the most about the collection in the comments section. I'm always curious to know what certain viewers and certain collectors really gravitate towards. Do you like the turtle stuff, Dick Tracy? Maybe there's someone else out there that likes socket poppers as much as I do. Who knows? I'm just kind of curious. Has anybody even heard of socket poppers before? What about my TV show shelf? Anybody else out there collect TV show stuff? You know, just let me know. I'd love to hear from all of you. And be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to my channel at Reese Retro Toys for all of your toy hunting needs. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, keep on hunting.